What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I am Chad, the Reseller Rockefeller, and I want to say thank you for coming and watching another video. I know I haven't uploaded any content lately. I've been extremely busy just trying to keep my business running, and personally, a lot of things have been going on, not only business-wise, but family-wise. I've just been kind of overwhelmed by work, overwhelmed by so much stuff, but I'm back. I'm finally back into the groove of things. I've had the employee that I hired a couple of weeks ago. He finally started, and things have been really rocky with him. I'll get into some details about hiring an employee later on, but I definitely want to talk about, you know, the ups and the downs when it comes down to growing your business and getting to a point to where you need employees or you need help. Some people, you know, hire people just to help every now and then, and that's kind of the way that I've been doing things for years and years now. I just kind of hire people when I need help or when I'm backed up with a lot of inventory. But anyways, I'm back in the office. I'm getting some work done. I've been listing some stuff. It's pretty early in the morning. It's January 24th. It's about 8:30, something like that, in the morning. We've been here, we've been photographing, I've been listing, and I just wanted to make a quick video today. I wanted to talk about a couple of different things, and one of them is buying clothing from estates. Going to estate sales and buying stuff is something that we're all familiar with. And me and a friend of mine were talking the other day, and so what I did was I reached out to, there's about 4, maybe 6 local estate companies that are within at least 40 to 50 miles of me, and I reached out to all of them via email. And what I did was I pretty much said that I'm willing to pretty much buy all of your clothing items. Now, if you go to estate sales and you go to yard sales, you notice that at most of the estate sales, they don't pay that much attention to clothing items. They just they kind of just brush it off as if it's not really important, because to an estate company that's handling somebody's estate, they're not really focused on selling the clothing. They're more focused on selling the jewelry, the collectibles, the antiques, any kind of higher end items, furniture, things like that. They're not really focused on the clothing. They do price the clothing, and if you're familiar with estate sales, then you probably already know most of the times when I walk into estate sales, they have the clothing priced basically, like one closet will have like a piece of paper that says jackets $4, t-shirts $1, stuff like that. They don't really look at individual items and price them out. Now, there are some estate companies that will do that, but most of them, they don't want to take the time or the effort to individually go through all of the clothing. So I found it fairly easy to contact these people, explain to them that I'm willing to buy all of their clothing, and this is about a roundabout number that I pay for clothing, depending on the condition and if it's vintage or modern and the brands. And it was real easy to come up with a very quick formula that works for me. Now, it might be different for you, it just depends, but I came up with a quick formula to give them, and they can decide if they want to sell the clothing to me or not. And immediately I started to receive emails of yes, we are very interested, we will contact you every time we have an estate sale. And even some of them asked me if I could come the day before the estate sale starts and pick up all the clothing. So that's kind of what I've been doing. It's been going really good, and I wanted to share that with everybody and explain to you that that is a very good way to buy clothing. Try to do it, in your local area. Contact them. Ask if they might already have somebody that does this. I did get contacted by one estate company that said that they already had somebody that purchases all of their clothing. They said it was a clothing thrift store, and they've been doing business with them for years. So I'm kind of noticing that maybe it could be that way, but it just depends. It's worth the try. It's definitely worth the effort. I definitely love it. I bought just last weekend. I went to 2 different estate sales before they started. One estate sale had almost, I think it was like 3 closets full of clothing, And then they had a hallway closet that was full of shoes, boots, winter wear, jackets, stuff like that. I purchased all of the clothing contents from the estate for a little under $100. And so when I got it back to my warehouse, I inventoried everything. I got some really good brands, some really high-end items, and it was all for less than $100, totaling about 140 pieces altogether. So that is less than $1 a piece, and that is a really good way to purchase clothing. I've said it before in my videos, and I'm going to say it again. You won't really find me dealing in clothing on a large scale. You know, when in return, what I'm saying is I'm not going to go to like Goodwills and thrift stores and buy, you know, 60, 70 items, buying one item at a time and paying $2, $3, or, you know, even $4 a clothing item. The only way that you're going to find me buying clothing is if I'm getting it in big bulk deals like this, and I'm able to get it super cheap. So, yeah, I mean, I was asked by a few friends of mine, well, what do you do when you get items and they're not that nice or they have stains on them? I mean, you're going to have that. And this is basically one of those deals where you have to put your knowledge and your judgment up. You have to understand the estate game. You have to understand everything, and you have to take everything into consideration. So when they contacted me about the estate, I immediately asked, what's the address? And then I also asked a few basic questions similar to the questions that I put in my last video about buying estates. I asked, you know, how old were they? Who passed away? I just tried to get some details of the people that own the items. And that is a big deal. It determines if I'm even interested in the clothing items. If I Google map this residence and it's a very, very small home in a very low-end side of town, then it might not be something that I'm interested in. But if it's a very upscale home in a very high-end side of town, then it might be something I'm interested in. So, you know, you have to make a judgment call, and you have to, you know, have some knowledge, and you have to do some work, but it really is worth it, and it definitely pays off. I've already sold, actually, 2 items that I got from that estate last weekend. One of the jackets was a Harley Davidson. It was a leather jacket. If you sell clothing, you're familiar with leather jackets, and you're also familiar with Harley Davidson stuff. That stuff sells really quick. So it immediately sold for $129.99 plus $10.40 shipping. And so that means all of the other clothing that I got from that estate, completely, 100%, that's gravy on top because I've already made my money back. So anyways, we're also going to be talking about a really cheap photo setup. I've had a bunch of questions come in that, you know, it was just people, you know, talking about how they did not know how to set up a photo booth for photographing items. And I'm actually going to show you my photo booth, and I'm going to show you how much it cost me to get it operational. And it's actually a really good one. I just recently switched it up. You can see it here behind me. That's the photo booth. That's the mannequin. It's just sitting there. Those are the 2 lights that I use. I've talked about them before in my videos, but I'm actually going to show you in detail exactly what everything is, and then I'm going to tell you how much money I have in everything. So that'll be later on in the video. Right now, I'm going to get back to listing some items, going to get back to photographing some items, and try to get a lot of items listed today. I've been slacking on listing, so let's get back to work, and then we'll pick up here in just a little bit. Alrighty, so here is my photo setup. I'm going to show you the actual piece of, it's actually like particle board / party board. I'm not really sure what they call it, but it's in Home Depot or Lowe's. It's in the back in the lumber section, and it's just like a white piece of paneling, and it's only 11 bucks. Not sure about the exact size, but it's definitely perfect size for a photo booth, and you'll see the size in just a minute. You'll also see the lighting, and it works great. I love this setup. It is absolutely the best setup. I've used paper, I've used sheets, I've used PVC backdrops. I've used it all, and this by far is better than all of those. It makes the pictures turn out wonderful, pure white, seamless background because of the way that it's shaped. and you'll see how I get that shape, and you'll actually see how I made it. It's a fairly easy setup. You can make this in seconds. So let me turn the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so here we are. This is the setup. Let me brighten the camera up some so you can actually see. And this is the board that I'm talking about. And you can buy it at Home Depot or Lowe's. And it's just a little piece of board. And it's kind of flimsy. And see how it just curves up. And it's just resting on the wall. And then as it comes down, it curves. And that puts that nice curve that you want. And that makes it to where it doesn't have any kind of reflection or shadows, and pure white, especially if you have your lights set up in the right direction. Now, the lights right now are set up aiming downward because I'm photographing items laying flat. But if I was to put my mannequin up here, then I would aim the lights aiming towards the mannequin, and one aiming downward kind of on it. And you can play around with the lighting setup all you want to get it perfect, but this is the overall setup. Now, what I have underneath here is just a regular table. Those are two tables side by side, and the board just sits on top. I have these clamps holding it on, and then the board just lays on top of the table, and it goes against the wall and then just runs up the wall at a really nice curvature that makes it perfect for exactly what you want for taking photographs. There's no creases, there's no bends in it. That little marking that you're seeing right there, that's from the overhead lights, which when I'm doing photographs, I don't have those lights on. The only lights that I have on are these lights, the box lights. And the box lights, they're real important. I've had multiple different lighting setups, and these lights are the absolute best ones I've ever had. They're the brightest ones. These are made by LS Photography. They are really nice. I think I paid $60 for the pair of them. These are the ones that have the multiple bulbs. And that's what I really like about them, because you can individually control each bulb by the switches. So if you want them really bright, then you cut all of them on. If you don't want them really bright, then you can only cut 1 or 2 on, or 3, or you can cut all, I think it has 6 or 5. It has 5 bulbs. So that's a really nice setup, and it's fairly cheap. The board at Home Depot was $11, so it came out to be like 12 or 13 after taxes. The lights were $60, so I mean, and then these 2 tables I actually got out of a dumpster behind, I think it was Costco's or one of the big department stores. These were in the dumpster. They're just kind of restaurant quality, industrial quality. But if you can get a table, as long as it's the same width as this board, and you want it to where it doesn't, isn't too short, then it would work perfect. And this is what I call the photography setup. Now, when I'm photographing clothing and I'm using my full mannequin, which I have multiple mannequins that I use. I have a small mannequin here. I also have this mannequin, which is just a standing female. I use this a lot for dresses and items. And I also have a full male mannequin, which I use when I'm doing more higher end items that are actually worth, me putting on a mannequin and displaying properly. And when I'm doing photographs with these mannequins, I use this backdrop, which is just a regular, backdrop that you can get offline, and it has a regular sheet behind it. But actually, I wouldn't recommend using the sheet because it's super hard to get it perfect and get it pure white. What I recommend is using the paper. And I've had the paper before, but after using it for about 4.5 months, it kept getting dirty. I kept having to rip it and get a new piece and all that good stuff. So I ran out of paper, but I just reordered another roll of paper, so it should be here soon, and I'll switch back to using paper. So these are my 2 setups, and You know, it just depends on what you photograph. If you're photographing a lot of clothing and you like to do flat lay, this setup with this white board right here, it works perfect. I can lay clothes flat down on that. It works absolutely perfect. The white on this wood does not put off any kind of glare when the lights are on it. It absolutely works perfect. And if you ever do get this dirty, which I've already gotten it really dirty, and I can just wipe it right off with a towel and some 409. But if you ever do get it dirty and it's not coming clean, then you can obviously lay a piece of white paper on it. The reason that I like this is because it's hard, it's sturdy, it's not going anywhere. I can lay heavy stuff, light stuff, and it's real easy to clean. And it was only $12, so that's a big deal. The price of these can get really expensive if you're ordering them offline. But why order them offline when you can pick them up at your local Home Depot or local Lowe's, and you can pay 12 bucks. So anyways, that's my photo setups for all of you that sent me the message and was asking about it. Obviously, you're probably new to reselling, and you're probably looking for a cheap, affordable way to start taking photographs. So that's the photo setup that I recommend, and it works out great. You will love it, I promise you. The other thing that I recommend is, obviously, you're going to have to use a camera or your cell phone. If you don't have a high-end cell phone, something that's actually shooting really good pictures, like a Galaxy or an iPhone, then you might want to get a point-and-shoot camera. You can pick up point-and-shoot cameras at yard sales, at thrift stores, pawn shops. Go try to find one. Do some research online to figure out, a good point-and-shoot camera. I've been using this point-and-shoot camera here for a long time. This is a Nikon. It's just a Coolpix. It is 16 megapixels. This camera works really good. The only problem with this camera, and the only reason I don't really use it full-time, is because when you're shooting clothing items that have multiple lines on it, for some reason this camera just cannot focus on those, and it makes it look really weird. So I will either use my Sony, which is the one that I'm recording on now, which is a Sony A5100, but that's about a $350 camera, or I will just use my iPhone 7. So either one of those, will be plenty good enough to take pictures for eBay. The main things you want to focus on is just the clarity of your pictures, and you want to make sure it has a pure white background, and you want it to look as sharp as possible. If you go to eBay and you type in something and you start strolling through the pictures, and you see that a bunch of them are white, and then all of a sudden there's somebody with a gray background or a black background, it just doesn't look right. And definitely eBay wants us to have white backgrounds, and that's all because of the search algorithm for, Google and all that good stuff. Focus on doing good photographs. Focus on buying good items. If you have a setup like this, it's not going to cost you that much, and you're going to be able to produce fantastic photos that look top-notch, top quality. Also, for all of you that are new to reselling, I highly recommend going on Google, going into like YouTube and stuff, and watching just some of your basic photography, photography learning or photography setup videos. You want to learn the basics about photography, angles, things of that nature, lighting, doing lighting tricks with, pieces of white paper. I'm always setting up the lighting just perfect so I can get that perfect shot. And you can learn some of the basics just from YouTube, and it will really make your pictures, 5 to 10 times better. So those are the two things that I really wanted to mention and really wanted to talk about. I know that a lot of newer resellers, y'all, you get real discouraged about your photographs. And, that's the main thing. Your photographs are what sells the item. So you really need to pay attention to the photographs. You really need to pay attention to how the quality comes out, and make sure that it's a nice photograph. Because if not, then people are just not going to look at your item. They're not going to buy your item. Anyways, going to get back to listing and try to get some items listed. Alrighty, so just got done listing some items, and I want to talk a little bit about hiring people, getting an employee, getting a helper, doing that kind of thing. I've been asked about this before. I've never really made any videos on it, so I just figured I would kind of just briefly touch bases and speak on it a little bit in this video, since it's something that I've gone through not only once, twice, 3 times. I've had probably over the last 6 or 7 years, I've probably had 10, 11, maybe even 12 different employees. Well, let's not call them employees because they never were paid, you know, on a salary or hourly or payroll basis. They were just paid similar to like how you would pay a subcontractor. Pretty much the way that I've always done it is pay by the listing. So I would get somebody to come in, and then depending on their experience, I would pay them per listing. So for every item that they listed, they would get X amount of dollars. And that's what I, you know, have found to work the best. Now, some people might find the right person and they might just want to pay them hourly. The trick with that is if you don't really know the person and they're not family or at least really good friends, you're going to find yourself in a big predicament, because what's going to happen is they're going to come to work, they're going to sit down, and they're not really going to try to get up a lot of listings. They're just going to spend their day listing, but it won't be competitive. You know, they won't try to do it real fast. They won't try to get a large number of listings done. Then the downside to paying them per listing is that they try to rush through the listings, and therefore they make a lot of mistakes, and they're just trying to get every listing done super fast so they can make more money. So there's an upside and a downside to both ways of paying somebody. For me, what I try to do is I try to find somebody that has knowledge with eBay, and it's not as easy as people think. Too many people all the time, you know, they reply back to the ads or they come in for an interview. They say they have eBay experience, but you know, honestly, they don't. Maybe they've listed an item before, maybe they've purchased off of eBay, but they don't have actual experience, especially not, you know, sitting there listing item after item after item. And there's a huge difference that I've found out when hiring somebody between the ones that maybe have experience, but they're doing it at home, just on, you know, on like maybe a weekly or monthly basis. Maybe they sell a few items, but then when they come into work and they say they have experience, they don't know how to, you know, write a good description. They don't know how to take proper photos. And it's definitely a task. Anytime that I get a helper or I hire somebody, it's definitely a task to get them, you know, on the right track. To get them to understand that mistakes, you know, can't be made, because we're a business and those little mistakes can cost me. So it's definitely hard finding the right person. And for any of you out there, if you have an employee or somebody working for you and it's going really good, I want you to leave it down in the comments below. Let me know exactly how you handle paying your employee and how things are going for you. I would love to hear about it. I have tons of friends that are resellers, and I talk to them on a regular basis, and a lot of my friends pretty much handle things the same way that I handle them. And it's always been a problem, you know, finding that good, you know, employee that's going to actually put in the effort, put in the time, and make sure that the listings look good, the descriptions are good, the photos are good, you know, they take quality, you know, they take care of the actual job at hand. It's kind of hard to find that. So it's definitely something that is on everybody's wish list. I know that I talk to a lot of newer resellers, and every time I'm talking to people, they always, you know, say, well, I can't wait until I get to a point to where I can hire somebody. And I've also talked to those that after they hire somebody, they say that they didn't like it and they want to go back to doing it themselves. It just kind of depends on how you work and your operation, your system, how you have things set up. For me, I bring in so much inventory that I need somebody that can list pretty much constantly, at least 4 to 5 days a week. And they can get up a couple hundred items a week. But it's hard. It's hard. You know, it's finding that right person is definitely not easy. And it's time consuming, because every time you put an ad up, you constantly are getting phone calls, because the economy, it's not that good, and people are looking for work, and people are wanting to work, and it's definitely, a hard task, and it takes up a lot of my time trying to find somebody. But for all of you out there that are thinking about, getting an employee or hiring help, whatever the case may be, I definitely recommend doing your research. Look at other people that are, other people on YouTube like myself that are resellers. I know that there's a few other videos out there that talk about hiring people. There's a few older resellers that have been around for, a long time. That I don't think they make any videos no more, but I know that they have some older videos that talk about it, and they give some really good advice and some really good tips. But, really my only advice and my tips is take your time finding somebody. Don't just hire anybody. That can be your big mistake. People will steal from you. People will lie, cheat, all that good stuff. And, in this business, I have a warehouse full of inventory. I have to find somebody that I can trust. And that goes for you too. My other advice is look for somebody that has eBay experience. And what I mean by eBay experience is somebody that's actually either worked somewhere and handled a eBay store, or somebody who has at least sold their own items on a regular basis. So therefore they have somewhat of experience, and you don't have to teach them everything. It's much, much easier. I've tried to do it the other way. I hired a woman about a year ago, and she was really good. She was a photographer, and she knew a ton about computers. So I thought it was going to be a very good combination, and that she was going to just thrive within this business. But, she never had, done anything with eBay. So I thought, well, I'll be able to train her. And I just spent too much time, too much effort, and it didn't work out. So I'll never do that again. I tried to dedicate a lot of time to her and teach her the ropes. But it was just every time I turned around, I was getting, returns for items. She was making mistakes and all that good stuff. And that's one of the next tips is whoever you're going to hire, no matter if it's a friend or a family member, whoever it is, you need to explain to them that, rushing through a listing is absolutely the worst thing they can do, because mistakes will be made. If they're trying to rush through the listing, you're going to have mistakes. Even yourself, even myself, if I try to really rush through listings, sometimes I make mistakes. I've been doing it for a long time, so it's very rare if I do make a mistake, but definitely for somebody new to eBay or somebody that is rushing, they're going to make mistakes, and mistakes can cost you a lot, and it's not worth it. So make sure that they understand everything. What I do is I printed out a kind of like a cheat sheet, and it pretty much goes step by step on how to list an item from the beginning to the very end. And over the years, I've kind of learned what is the hardest thing for people to do, and that is, depending on how you hire them, sometimes you'll get them to do the pricing and decide the shipping cost unless you charge free shipping. Some people, they don't allow their helper or employee to decide the cost of the item or the shipping. And what they do is they just upload the photographs, they complete the description, the item specifics, the title, the condition description, all of that stuff, and they leave blank the price and the shipping, and then they save it as a draft, and then you, the actual business owner, you come along afterwards and complete that draft. I've done that before. And it just depends on the situation and how the person is and who the person is and how acknowledgeable they are of, buying and selling items. If I hire a person and they have massive amount of experience, they know a lot about reselling, they know how to look up the comps, they know how to determine shipping, by all means, I will let them do that, and I'll just pay them a little bit more per listing. If they don't know how to do that, then they will just do everything else. They will leave out the price, leave out the shipping, and they're going to get paid a little less per listing. And every state's different based on what you're paying the person. I have a friend of mine who is in the Louisiana area, and he pays his helper $1.75, so $1.75 per listing. Around here, Gainesville, Florida, it seems like the going rate, if you're not doing the pricing or the shipping, is about $1 to $1.50 per listing. That's what I pay my helpers, and that's what a lot of other resellers around this area. But it might be different in your area. It just all depends. Maybe in New York or California, it might be higher. Maybe they're wanting $2, $3 a listing. I don't really know. But it's definitely something that you need to look into if you're building your business big enough to even, think about an employee or a helper. Most likely you actually need it. And I highly recommend, just taking your time. Don't rush into it. So that's my tips and that's my opinions on hiring an employee / helper. I'm still listing items, still sitting here, got the photo booth set up. I've already went through about 16, 17 items in the last, it's been about 45 minutes, something like that. I listed some big bulky items, that's why it took me a lot longer. Now I'm about to start listing some clothing items and just roll on with the day. Hopefully the day keeps going good and I get up a lot of listings. I'm definitely behind, especially for clothing. Take a look at the clothing that I need to get listed. I've been behind. Clothing has just been piling up. The camera's going to go dark for a minute, so sorry about that. Ever since I dropped this camera, it seems like it doesn't focus as good as it used to, and it doesn't, the brightness of the camera takes a long time to actually adjust. But anyways, behind me is all of the clothing. This is all the clothing that comes in from estate sales, yard sales, and just recently I just purchased a lot of clothing, so it's all piled up here. I had a lot of clothing piled up here a couple of weeks ago, last time I made a video, and all of that stuff has kind of been listed. I still have a little bit left. A lot of this is newer stuff that I just got and it needs to be listed, so that's what I'm gonna be focusing on in the next couple of weeks or so. Hopefully I can get it all listed and I can move on. And it's inventory, it's money. I don't consider it a death pile. I consider it an investment. I always have money, and it's always here in this warehouse, and I never consider it a death pile. It's just piles of money to me. So anyways, this is all of the clothing items that I need to get listed, and I have all kinds of stuff in here. I mean, it really does, it has a super wide, I got all kind of stuff. Miss Me jeans, I got knit sweaters, I got a bunch of these baseball pants. I got a bunch of those that are brand new with the tags. I got purses, I got t-shirts, I got vintage stuff. Check out this vintage Michael Jordan t-shirt. It's not in the best condition, but it's definitely a super cool shirt. It's a Jan Sport. Not really sure what this shirt's going to go for, but I know Michael Jordan stuff sells for really good money. I got leather jackets. I got really cool stuff. I just got to get all of this stuff listed. Everything is just sitting here, and that's the problem. When you start buying in bulk, you'll get a lot of stuff. And that's exactly why I hired somebody, and hopefully things will start getting listed. So anyways, get back to photographing and listing. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Alrighty, so I am done for the day. It is about 5:30 p.m. I have listed a bunch of items, and it is time for me to get home. Before I get home though, I wanted to talk about a scale that I picked up about a week and a half ago. For all of you that are resellers, if you do not have a scale, you need to go get one, and I highly advise you to get the one from the United States Postal Service. So I've been, buying and selling stuff for 15 years. I've probably had 6, 7, maybe even 10 different scales. I have 3 of them sitting right here. And I've gone through some scales. And one thing that I noticed about some scales, especially the cheap ones that you pick up on like Amazon and eBay, they will actually start being inaccurate, and it can really mess your business up. So I highly advise you to always check your scale, make sure it's accurate, and make sure it's working correctly. But all that aside, I had a scale break on me, so I decided to go get another scale. I was at the post office, I seen their scale hanging on the wall, and I purchased it. It turns out that is the best scale that I've actually ever owned. So I highly recommend this scale to anybody out there. If you're looking to upgrade a scale, or if you're looking to buy a scale, this is your first scale, this is the one that I recommend. So If you need a new scale or you're looking to buy your first scale, this is the scale that I suggest you get. This is the scale here. It is absolutely a beast. I just love the construction of it. It feels really sturdy, heavy duty. It has this rubber coating around here so the boxes don't slip. It has this that unfolds so you can slide letters or poly mailers in there and it will hold it up straight so you know that you're getting an accurate reading. It has everything that a normal scale has. You know, it'll change from pounds and ounces to I don't know what GM means. I think that's grams, ounces, and it's definitely a really nice scale. It has the plug-in in the back, and it also has the USB plug that you can plug into your computer if you're using a third-party shipping site. It's just a super good scale, really quality. When you put an item on there, it will weigh it, and then it'll beep, and it'll tell you that's the weight. It's definitely a really good scale. I've had tons of scales. This is the one that broke on me the other day. This scale here is a crappy scale. I would not suggest buying this scale. This Royal here is a really good scale. This is the scale that I use when I am weighing really big boxes, stuff that weighs, you know, 40, 50, 60 pounds. That's the scale that I use. I don't use my small one. If you are using a small scale like this and you're trying to weigh huge packages, I can almost guarantee you that you have already destroyed the scale and it does not weigh accurately. If you go buy some weights, you can slap it on there and you can see if it's weighing accurately. But that's exactly how I broke this scale. I was putting, you know, 30-pound boxes on it, and it says that it will weigh up to 110 pounds, but that is incorrect. I put a 30-pound box on it and it broke the scale. So this scale's crap. This one is absolutely the best scale that I have ever owned. Alrighty, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. I'm back to making content, so be on the lookout for more videos coming to you soon. I'm really thankful for all of my subscribers sticking there with me. More content will be on the way. I hope you liked today's video. Peace.